still there if you want to have a look at it, but I'll put mine on at the
Well,
end
I
of
got to
the
pay
meeting
for
so you
that.
can see it.
Yeah.
I have to pay for
Well,
it.
we'll take it off your check.
Oh, good
Fine. All right, do
idea.
that. Sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
Perfect.
Otherwise, I'd forget.
When are you back, Mike?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Time for church.
No, it won't be till midnight.
So actually Monday.
Yes.
No tricking you, Jim.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I'll do the land acknowledgement first. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather and which the Township of Severn operates is part of the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples have been inhabiting and caring for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Ojibwe or Chippewas peoples. This territory is covered by Lake Simcoe Treaty 16 and the J. Collins Land Purchase. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. Just have a moment of reflection, everyone, please.
Yeah, exactly. Make you feel guilty the entire time.
Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Public meetings, hearings. We have one presentation, and just for the presenter, we have a time limit, which is it 10 or 15 minutes now, Madam Clerk?
10.
10 minutes.
Followed by Q&A.
Thank you. Mr. Andrew Mulder, Live Communities ERO submission, County of Simcoe Plan Amendment number 7. Welcome, Andrew.
Dan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm putting a clock up so I can keep a little bit of control over my time. There was a presentation submitted. Is that to be shared by me, or does Council have it up on their end? I'm not sure the mechanism.
It's entirely your choice. You're welcome to share your screen if you have it. Otherwise, I can assist.
If you could, that would be great.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
It's a rather large file, so it's taking a minute.
My apologies. I wanted to make it pretty.
Can you see that?
I do not see anything yet.
No.
I can see it, Allison.
Yep.
You can see it. We can all see it. There we go.
Hold on. I'm going to change my view and make sure I'm. Oh, okay, there it is. Sorry. It was behind my screen with all the pictures of everybody. My apologies. Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much, Council. I appreciate your time, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and staff. Thanks for your time. My name's Andrew Mulder. I'm Executive Director of Land Development at Live Communities. Just want to share a little bit about who we are as a firm, because when we first did our introduction to this council, not everybody in attendance here was on council at the time. We're a family-owned company. We've been building in Southern Ontario for about 40 years. We recently started building and developing in this area. We own 6 projects locally. 2 currently are sold and under construction. And we are also the owners and operators of the Hawk Ridge Golf Club. Could we flip to the next slide, please? Just wanted to identify our lands that are adjacent to the Aurelia-Severn boundary. The yellow sites have draft plan approval for development, and the blue is the Hawkridge Golf Course. I just wanted to share a little here about what our intent is. As a builder developer, we do want to build and develop, but we also want to help the province meet the requirements to build more homes in the province. The Premier has been pretty adamant recently what his goals are, and we're doing everything we can to help achieve those. Our number one intent here to achieve that is to include the lands we own in Severn in the settlement area. We want to make the Hawkridge Golf Club the golf destination in the region by designing and developing a golf course community that protects the viability of this club, enhances the local community, and protects and enhances the local environmental features. And lastly, through all of this, we believe we can help assist the Township of Severn in protecting their municipal boundary. Could we go to the next slide, please? This is the same image, but overlaid over a larger area. I just wanted to give a little bit of context. You can see we're butting right up against the built boundary of Orillia. And I've identified a few parcels of land here just for context for everybody. The A is the Inch Farmlands. It's a draft approved parcel within the city of Orillia, and we've significantly redesigned it since acquiring it. We've improved the environmental interface, improved servicing for it, increased setbacks from environmental features. B is the Area 3 parcel that is within the Township of Severn, and it includes industrial employment lands. We're currently in the communication with the County of Simcoe to provide an emergency services station on this site to benefit this whole area. And C is the golf course. I've identified D here as well because you'll see in a later slide, it's an opportunity to bridge between another area that's already draft approved through the golf course lands to kind of create a whole hub here that can benefit from some joint servicing. We don't have any, just want to offer clarification, we do not have any ownership or interest in those lands. I'm just identifying them because there's importance to developing areas, looking at the whole area holistically. You might recognize this slide. It is the south of Division Road secondary plan. I'd like to note that west of Burnside Line, there are multiple approved but not yet built developments. This includes Area 2, which is north of us, Area 3, which if you look kind of in the middle, just to the left of that red section, that's the Area 3 lands, which we own. And then further to the west, there is part of Area 1, which is not yet built, the southern edge. Yes, thank you. Sorry, just pulling my notes back up. No, could you please go back to that? I have a little discussion here. Any annexation could benefit from unbuilt developments with planning approvals. Also, any other homes west of Burnside Line that are adjacent to these areas do have risk of becoming part of that boundary change to make sure that it doesn't look like some of these gerrymandered districts we get in American politics we see on the news. If we look at the golf course and some of these areas, they kind of intermix with the whole area. And we just want to make sure there's an understanding that while there is risk of the Orillia boundary changing, we've got to look at not only its effect on undeveloped, but also developed lands. Just to be clear, any changes by the city could affect existing homeowners. I want to point out that a significant area of the lands west of Burnside Line that do not have planning approvals are also not designated as prime agricultural under OMAFRA and local OPs. Under the provincial policy statement, lands that do not have prime ag designation must be under significant consideration for development before prime agricultural lands. Want to point out that while it's not on this plan, because I hadn't got into that level of detail when I submitted my presentation, the lands to the west and south of Orillia, which are also under consideration by them, have a much larger amount of prime agricultural land, which, as I noted under the provincial policy statement, require other lands to be considered first. Another benefit of including lands such as the south of Division Road, lands in a settlement area, it would allow the township to do a comprehensive servicing strategy to develop the whole area, as opposed to doing an ad hoc approach on a project by project basis. Currently, the township has been discussing on parcel number 3 on this map, a cross-boundary servicing agreement with the city of Aurelia, with no movements to date by the city. So, and as such, we know that servicing needs to be figured out on an, excuse me, I need a drink here, 1 second. And as such, we know that servicing needs to be figured out as a severance solution, not necessarily through a cross-boundary servicing agreement. LIV is prepared to work collaboratively with the township and other landowners to prepare a maiden severance servicing strategy. As noted previously, the golf course is central to bridge between the Area 3, Area 2, and a crossover to Area 1 as a central servicing hub, if we included some of those lands that I had noted that are closer to Highway 11 to the west of us. Can we flip to the next slide, please? This is an excerpt from our ERO submission. It's relatively simple. We would like the south of Division Road secondary plan to be designated as a settlement area. Having approved developments on land that are not part of an approved settlement area is quite unique. I would like to point out that this is not going outside the process. There is no municipal level process to generate a new settlement area. The ERO process in front of us right now is a unique opportunity for the township to generate that designation and assert its borders. Following that, the planning approvals for any developments in the area would be in the hands of the township, subject to following their existing processes, such as planning, engineering, and environmental protection approvals. This takes control of these lands for the township and significantly reduces the chances of any annexation of these lands. Could we flip to the 6th slide, please? This is an excerpt from a document released from the city of Aurelia. They've shared their criteria for selection of lands where to grow. This takes settlement areas into account, as is noted on the bottom of the slide. Severn has a very short window to protect their boundary. This ERO and the implementation of the Simcoe official plan is the appropriate way to establish it. If no action is taken by the township, the provincial policy statement could dictate that lands within the south of Division Road secondary lands must be priority for development if considered by others. Could we go to the final slide, please? These are our next steps. We believe the chances of success are significantly increased if the township participates with LIV. This requires the township to endorse our ERO and participate in these steps with us and the ministry. LIV will do the work with consultation with the township. The timing on this is urgent. The request for comments on the Simcoe official plan ended on February 3rd. We expect that this review process is significantly completed and we need to participate in it before they publish their findings. I do believe in the fullness of time that the Hawkridge Golf Resort community will become a destination to golf and to live. The question in front of us right now is which municipality it will be a part of. That completes my presentation.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Members of council, any questions for Andrew? Councillor Brennan. You're muted. There you
Yes,
go.
thank you for your presentation. A fascinating perspective on a possible new way to deal with things in the secondary plan area. I'm the councillor for that ward. There's a few things that I would like to cover based on your presentation, because this area is particularly important to my ward, and I've made commitments to the people in my ward to make sure we try to do development in as positive a way as possible. First of all, the idea of building, great. Sometimes I'd like a little better control over the narrative on the goal of 1.5 million houses. It's pretty clear from the last provincial budget that that's not an achievable goal for the province, and the budget reflects that. And while we should be ambitious about building more housing, it's a bit disappointing that we're not building more affordable housing in Ontario, as that plan doesn't deal with that. So I just want to get that in context, because I think people get confused by the current narrative provincially. I have a few questions, and I definitely have a few comments. One of the things, it's interesting to see what the implications would be on annexation versus your proposal, which I understand currently, as I think you've suggested, there's no way to add settlement areas under the current program. So that would be something new. What I'd really want to make sure that as we go through any process, either way, whatever's the best for people and for this area at the end of the day, is that we have respectful consultation through the process with the people. No shortcutting on these things. That's not going to save time at the end of the day. Now, I think people are getting too smart for that. And that, you know, we allow people to express their democratic rights properly and as we make these changes. They need information on the cost implications of such a project. What is this going to cost the residents of Severn Township? You know, it's the same question I have for annexation. What is this going to cost the taxpayers here if there was some successful annexation of part of Severn Township? And as you have suggested, there's well, we know that no annexation request has ever been turned down in Ontario in the past. So there's a lot of questions around that. What are the implications for the people that are paying the bills? Is something as we go down the road, I would like to see more information on. One of the things, I was fascinated by some of the numbers you have in your paper on long-term care and things. I think I have a better understanding of that now, having gone through it a couple of times. But one thing that never ceases to amaze me in discussing 20 to 51 planning is that nowhere do we ever talk about the need of the regional hospital. You have just pointed out that we have valuable agricultural lands on the oral portion of the proposed annex, and we also know there's aggregate interest there. It's not bizarre in any way to imagine that if Aurelia, which apparently has no land to build houses, can't house that property either. It suggests strongly that Severn is the solution to that, and this area is the solution to that. But we never talk about it, and we're going to need to make some room for that. 2051, we do planning for housing. We should be planning for healthcare with the same time horizons, and so you know, I'm concerned that we leave some space for that possibility. I don't think it's that remote. And what a plus that would be for Severn Township. 1,200 jobs for Severn Township in an instant. That's a pretty major economic success for us if that happens. My big concern, aside from that, and you've noted, and it's great that you've noted how important it is to protect our natural heritage features. Now, I need to talk to you about that because that is the big, tough area in today's proposals. Let me first of all talk about, I'm going to quote the Ontario Nature from their October 26th article. In 2019, the government of Ontario rammed through amendments to our Endangered Species Act, decimating the protections for the province of its most imperiled plants and animals. Among those changes was a new power by the government to override automatic protections for newly listed threatened and endangered species and their habitats. The Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks is now exercising that power by delaying the protection of black ash by 2 years once it is listed. And of course, I think anyone in the business knows the Committee on the Status of Species at Risk in Ontario has been asking for black ash to be issued since October 2020. We need to accommodate the need for, this is a critically endangered global species. It's also of importance to our First Nations people. If we're going to do development of this nature in a secondary planned area, which is secondary because it is listed as more sensitive than other areas of growth in Severn, that would be an essential part of the protection of natural heritage, regardless of what the province is doing. Brook trout. The Coldwater fishery is mostly confined to headwater areas and only now occupy 20% of their historic range. We have ongoing losses of the brook fishery. We have some key places like the Oro Moraine up this way, but we have some significant sources for breeding habitats for trout fishery running through the Silver Creek area that is prominent in the development area. How do you protect that? there are studies, lots of studies, and work that's been done on this.
Councillor
Normally
Brennan, Councillor Brennan, sorry to interrupt. Is there a question out of all this?
Yeah.
And
No, I
this-
just want to, my question is going to be, is basically around the protection of natural heritage. If we're making a commitment to protect it, I need to know that that is a real commitment, not what's going on right now. I'll be done in a second, Mayor, with all due respect. The normal setbacks for these things are 50 to 100 meters on either side of a creek to protect a coldwater fishery with a minimum of 20. So I'd like to know that, you know, we've got a commitment to do that as we develop around these features. And then finally, of course, we have significant wetlands in the area as well. And under the new evaluation manual, you can't score points for species at risk. You can't score points for wetland complexing. So basically, you can't protect the wetlands. So, and plus MNR and the conservation authorities are removed from the process. So the bottom line is your consultants at the end of the day will be making the recommendations. And the problem with that is under the new system, it's basically a political evaluation. It's not a true natural heritage evaluation. And I would hope that in your plans to move forward, there would be some, you would look at how these things would factor into a true protection of the natural heritage. So, you know, I guess my question is, we're very specific about how many houses that we can build and other units, but there's nothing specifically mentioned about how we would protect the natural heritage. And I'm just asking you, is there any way the next time that we talk that we can get some more specifics on what that really means from your company?
So before you answer that, Andrew, thank you very much, Councillor Brennan. I understand your passion. I think we're all trying to save the environment, but I think what Andrew's looking for at this point, and everything else would fall into place before that even happens, he's looking for support from council to move forward and apply to the province to allow this, as the province has reached out to us, to allow us to extend or make a new settlement boundary area. And I think that's what we're looking for. And that may be, that isn't a discussion we need to have today. If council is in favor of having a staff come back with a report, I think that's how we should handle it. But I'll let Andrew answer the question that Councillor Brennan has asked.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I do appreciate how passionate you are about this, Councillor. I love working with councillors who care about their neighborhoods and their people. So this is wonderful. What I can suggest to you, you went through a number of things there, and I'm going to hit a couple of the points you spoke about. First, you asked about the cost. What I can suggest right up front is we have done some financial analysis, and the financial analysis is in your favor if it's under you as opposed to under Aurelia. New homes that are built per required current densities, which do affect affordability in a positive way. When we put more houses in a smaller area, it makes it less expensive to build, less expensive to sell, and less expensive to maintain as a municipality. What I can suggest from a cost perspective for the municipality is you would be in a net worse position because you would end up with people paying property taxes to a different municipality that you could have had the benefit of having paid. So generally from a high level, you end up better off if this happens in your municipality versus another. We could get into the nuance of there's argument back and forth about if development charges truly pay for themselves. I strongly believe they do. I've had a lot of folks who've put the numbers together to prove that. And I do understand a lot of municipal folks feel differently. But I do know it's inarguable that property taxes are in perpetuity, and that's income that would not be there if this became part of the city of Aurelia. To your question about long-term, about hospitals, we've proposed doing some form of long-term care on the property. And if the need is more for affordable housing or for hospital, the same lands we've proposed in discussion with folks at the city, at the township, we could designate for hospital if that's actually truly the best need for the municipality. So we're very open to finding the right way to create a complete community here. We're not just saying let's jam more houses in and get out of this community. We're into community building. When I mentioned we're trying to build a golf course community here, we're not trying to just put houses in. We intend to have a fully serviceable, amazing golf course with housing to complement it, so we create a resort style community in this location. You also spoke about the environment. What I can suggest is that if you're very passionate about this, you're going to be much more interested in this than people in another municipality. If this doesn't become part of the settlement area and Aurelia decides it should be part of theirs, and you correctly asserted that these don't get turned down too often, you're losing the opportunity to be the advocate on behalf of the people in your neighborhood. The democratic process will still be followed, just in a different democracy, Aurelia as opposed to the Township of Severin. Right now, we've got an opportunity. If we designate this as a settlement area, this returns back into the normal process of draft plan application, rigorous review by staff at the township, and then the democratic process through yourself and your colleagues once it comes as a report to council.
That answer
Thank
your
you.
questions, Councillor Brennan. Is that okay?
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
No
Deputy
problem.
Mayor Cox. Good.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, Andrew. What I guess that my one question is, when the time comes, right now, Severn needs to increase their employment lands, and we do need to increase our settlement area so we can have more employment lands, and this would help us. The other one is that this is already, part of this has already been approved. I think it's Area 3 has already been approved by the government years ago. This area, since before the 90s, has been sitting there waiting to be developed. And I think it's time for it to be developed. And I like your ideas, but I really would hope, and as the mayor said, I would really hope that we would advise the rest of us to get a report from council, from our staff, to see where we would go with this, because I think it has a lot of potential to it. And I like to be in control of lands that belong to us and help our people. And I like the idea that the golf course will still be there and the houses will still be on the golf course. And it will be a destination, as you said. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just a question. I was on council back with, we had some talks with the city of Aurelia about Area 3, and official, unofficial, I think they wanted more than just water and sewer. They wanted building fees and development fees. So like, how realistic is it to get an agreement with the city of Aurelia that wants to annex this anyway? So I'm hoping that in our staff report, staff can bring us up, the new council members up to speed what happened with Area 3 and discussions with the city of Aurelia. So I'm a little skeptical whether it's economically viable to have an agreement with the city of Aurelia.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? Good morning, Councillor Jansen. Go ahead.
Good morning. My question is about the development of the 800 homes that you mentioned. Would that development just be within the areas 1, 2, and then 3 on the color-coded map here, or would that be outside of those areas?
What we're suggesting is, I'm not sure where the 100 came from, but what we're suggesting is right now, 1, 2, and 3 are all currently approved for development. I believe they were all done at the Ontario Municipal Board at the time. I know Area 3 was approved back in the 90s. It's gone through numerous extensions, and to Deputy Mayor's comment, it's basically been there for a long time. We're actively moving forward on it. We've got applications in with the township to be able to develop this. We're an active developer, and it's been in the hands of non-active developers for years. What we're suggesting is, right now, the Hawkridge Golf Course is a large piece of land with probably more space than it needs to be a viable golf course. Right now, it's probably oversized for the traffic we get through there. What we're suggesting is removing some of the less used areas and doing a residential development. And I'm picturing in a resort style, much like some of the southern states where you have homes lining a golf course, developing a premium residential community where you've got strong interaction between the residences and the golf course. By no means am I suggesting taking any homes that exist. And I would call your attention to that same map you mentioned, the Area 4, which has current residences on it. Yeah. I am by no means suggesting anybody who lives there in that development would have anything but golf up against them. We're not mean. We want our neighbors to be happy, and we understand that golf course up against them is quite an asset to them, and we don't want to disadvantage our neighbors.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen.
Just to supplementary, so maybe I wasn't clear. It was the 800 homes that you mentioned at the bottom of the report. So those 800 homes would be limited to the areas 2 1 and 3?
No, that's actually within the golf course area.
Oh, within the golf course area. Yeah, okay.
Yes. What we're looking at is we believe there's a very strong potential to convert this into a higher end 27-hole golf course, like to make this basically the gem of this area. We believe we could create a community that is second to none in this region.
So, Councillor Jansen, I know that I think what needs to happen, to Councillor Taylor's point and Deputy Mayor Cox's point, is because we have new members of council and the history of this whole area. Area 2 does not belong to LIV. It belongs to another developer, and I think that's why we would need a staff report to come back so that we can all be on the same page as to what has actually happened over the last 20 years. And I reiterate, what Andrew is looking for is support to apply as we did earlier, but we asked that our staff reach out to the province to look at what areas we could actually expand some of our settlement boundary areas. So I think by bringing that report back, if all of council is in favor, that would bring us all up to speed, and then we can make a wholesome decision then as to what we need to do. Councillor Minnings.
Thank you. So my question, if it's appropriate, Andrew, and I really enjoyed this presentation, but I'm the councillor that represents the other 2 LIV developments that are in the West Shore area. And I'm wondering, just because I have you on camera, if you could give like just a quick couple of sentence update as to the status and whether they're on track, et cetera. We've seen some clearing happening in the Minoki Beach area along the highway and with a former building, et cetera. So just a quick update would be really appreciated if you're prepared.
Sure, thank you, Councillor. There's a couple things going on. We're working in Minoki Beach Phase 1, Shadow Creek. You were gesturing. Could you not hear me?
I didn't hear the first part. Sorry.
Oh, my apologies. Yes, I am prepared to respond to your comments. I believe we have 3 areas we're doing work within your ward. One being the Turnbull subdivision, and that site we paved it at the end of last year. We're looking at completing some off-site works, and we're looking at getting in and starting homes this spring. We're hopeful that our subdivision agreement comes to the next council meeting. One of the things we do as a builder is we like to get in and out of a site as quickly as is possible. We believe it's the smallest disruption possible to our neighbors. If you accept that new people are going to come into neighborhoods, which I know neighbors never love, but if you accept that you are going to have new neighbors, the most respectful way to do it is quickly, so that the disruption is for a shorter period of time. So we intend to get in and get out in the quickest possible period of time. We've sold our first 90 to 100 homes there, and those are going to be started, and we hope out, and our neighbors are very proud of the new neighborhoods surrounding them very shortly. We've also got our Minoki Beach Phase 1, which we are going to start closing houses this late spring, early summer. If yourself or any of your other members of council would like to, we'd be more than willing to tour you some of the product we have there. We're very proud of the work we're doing, and we'd love to show it off to you, so you know that the people doing business in your township are really trying to deliver the highest quality product. And then on our Shadow Creek site, we did just do a building demolition over the last number of days. And we have that in for draft plan of subdivision application. And we're hopeful that comes up before council in the relatively near future.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions, council? Okay, so thank you, Andrew. Is council in favor of having the staff report come back so that we're all up to the same speed? Okay, Andrew, yes, go ahead.
If I would just like to add one small item before this comes to question, if at all possible. I would like to add there is a little bit of urgency here. If the township waits through normal council cycles, the decision is likely to be made before a decision is made by this council to act. What I would suggest is our ERO submission is asking the province to consider adding a settlement area. Sending that request for adoption of our ERO isn't the end of the conversation. It's truly the start of it. And if we don't start the conversation with a little bit of urgency, the conversation will be over before anybody has an opportunity. And to one of the first questions that was asked during this council meeting, it removes the democracy from this conversation because the township will not be part of it at that point if the province is already past the point of conversation.
Thank you, Andrew. And Madam CAO, I see that you have our new jacket on. Is that what mine looks like? Very nice.
I put it on just for you, Your Worship.
I bet you did. Thank you.
To Andrew's point, staff have already sort of worked through this, and we will have a report on planning for you in 2 weeks. So we can't present it instantaneously. It requires a bit of thought on our part, but we have started the thinking, and we will have something to you in the next 2 weeks.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
I do. So the motion reads that the delegation by Andrew Mulder of Lift Communities regarding Lift Community Zero submission on the County Simcoe official plan amendment number 7 be received and referred for a staff report.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cox, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and council and staff.
Okay, I've just got to bring it up here. Sorry, I had to take a picture of our agenda. Consent agenda. Is there any items that any member of council would like to pull? None? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Certainly, the motion reads that the agenda be adopted, including consent items as circulated.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Adoption, reports from official, new business, Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, resolution of support. Who would like to speak to that? Madam Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yes, I totally support this. I was talking to him yesterday, Carmen, and this is good. We need to support them. The province, they didn't get what they thought they would, but you know what? We can't lose the momentum because we are one of the more over-serviced medium-sized hospitals. So we need help here, and we need to continue on. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
Certainly. So the motion reads, whereas the current Soldiers Memorial Hospital's infrastructure is at end of life, and whereas there is a need for a new hospital due to increased demand for hospital services in our area, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Severn supports the request by Soldiers Memorial Hospital that the province be requested to provide the hospital with the planning grant and the necessary approvals to move into the next stage of planning.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Moving on to J2, Aurelia Fish and Game Conservation Club request for support and grant. So I will speak to this. I'm not sure if everyone knows where this organization is. It's on the other side of Bass Lake. I know that it's not in our township. I know that they're only looking for $500, and that's not what they're looking for today. They want to apply to the province in hopes of getting a $10,000 grant, and having the neighboring municipalities support them would be beneficial to them. If they come back for the $500 grant and council is not in support, I'm happy to donate to the club. So let's just leave the $500. They're just looking for support from us. From what the letter says, I think, did they say that they also they'll be planting 2,000 trees as well this year? They sit on 150,000 or 150 acre parcel of land. And the men and women that are part of this group are volunteers. It's a great organization. And I'm just hoping that we can get a letter of support from Severn to help them. Deputy Mayor Cox.
Yeah, thank you. They are wonderful. They do things in every township. So I am in full support of sending a letter in support. And if they would want the $500 grant, I'm not sure if we have anything left in our grant money, but maybe Andrew could let us know, or if they want to send it in, that would be fine with me too. Thank you.
Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, I want to echo the sentiments of the mayor and of the deputy mayor. I've had an opportunity to tour that property. It is absolutely a remarkable natural treasure for the region. And in addition, this group has been doing work since, I believe it's 1961. They've been doing work and actually done work to protect brook trout fisheries in Severn Township. And these guys are first class. This is a first class organization that's really committed. And yep, got my vote for sure.
Thank you. Any further comments? Madam Clerk, do you have a motion?
If I can, Your Worship,
Mr.
I believe
Plunkett.
Mr. Plunkett popped up there, so.
Yeah, there was a little delay in me popping up on the screen, but it's there. Just through the mayor to the deputy mayor, we certainly do have, there's a $2,900 contingency in our grant funding for 2023. So we do have some room.
Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if they want the $500 right now, Andrew. Can we wait until we see if they're successful with Madam Clerk? Sorry.
Council can choose to award it, and then we can just talk to them about when they would actually want that check if there's a timing issue with them.
Okay, does council have an appetite to approve the $500? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have a motion?
Okay, so the motion reads then that the Council of the Township of Severn supports the Aurelia Fish and Game Conservation Club's grant application to the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters Community Conservation Fund, and that council provide a grant to the Aurelia Fish and Game Conservation Club in the amount of $500.
Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Cox, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? That is carried. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for bringing this. I asked quickly for it to come on, but thank you very much for doing that. Madam Clerk, general bylaws.
Motion reads that bylaws number 2023-23 to 2023-29 inclusive being or hereby ready for second, third time and finally passed.
Any comments from council? Mover in a second. Oh, Councillor Mannings.
Thank you. My question is about the parking bylaw and the streets named in it. There was some discussion at our last meeting about other streets in the area, so I just need a bit of context regarding the streets that are in that bylaw amendment.
Madam Clerk.
So the streets that are in the bylaw amendment are those that were proposed to be changed in the parking bylaw. With respect to others, I believe that was much more of an enforcement issue than it was a parking bylaw itself regulatory issue. So perhaps Councillor Minnings, I could follow up with you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jansen, second by Councillor McIntyre. All in favor? That is carried. Any announcements? Announcements, no closed session, confirmation bylaw, Madam Clerk.
Motion reads that bylaw number 2023-30 be and is hereby ready first, second, third time and finally passed.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Adjournment.
Thank you. Motion reads that this meeting be and is hereby adjourned at 9:42 a.m.
Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Minnings, second by Councillor Jansen. All in favor? That is carried. Madam CAO, did you want to say anything before we all left?
Yeah, we want to have a look at the coat.
No, I was modeling my coat.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Lovely. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Easter and hope you all have a lovely weekend and stay safe.
I like the way
Thank
the
you.
call